What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Devy Real YouTube channel. We are back with another mock draft in this one, but we're going to be doing a 2024 rookie mock draft, 3 rounds. So we're going really deep on this one. I'm going to kind of be breaking down my favorite picks. We're going to be looking at pick value as well. So one thing I like to do in these things is not just give you the players and that's it. You got to have an analysis with it, right? So what I'm going to be looking at is what you could get for your 2024 picks right now based on, keep trade cut, dynasty value, my rankings, kind of everything in between of where we're seeing guys go. So 2024 mock, 3 rounds, player breakdowns, tier breakdowns, and pick value. So while the intro is going, hit that like and subscribe button. All right, let's get into it. 2024 rookie mock draft. And again, when we're talking about these guys and we're looking at them, when we think of like these drafts, obviously these things aren't set in stone, but it is good to see. If you play in Dev, you obviously want to know where your values are, right? And if you're playing Dynasty, who are the guys next? And again, we see a lot of things change, and people are going to say it doesn't matter to draft capital, all that stuff. But if you're in Dynasty, you want to know who's there and also kind of where the pick value is. So a little bit of everything today for you guys. So number 1 pick right now in this format is Caleb Williams. So Superflex, tight end premium, 12 team PPR. Caleb's going number 1 for a lot of good reasons in terms of just the mocks. And in a recent combined 23 and Devy mock, he went 101 as well. So when we're talking about like, what we're seeing from Caleb, he's pretty much the consensus 101. There's not a ton to talk about here. I think maybe the one thing we could say is like, quarterbacks have definitely, not performed the way you have wanted, but we've never seen like a Heisman winning quarterback not kind of be drafted there. Look at Bryce Young, 101, those type of things. So Caleb's going to the 101. Now, next pick was a little bit of a shock, I guess. Drake May, quarterback, 6'4", 220, North Carolina. You see the numbers there. Christian did a great breakdown on Drake May as a profile. Go check that out. But, when you're looking overall, like at the Superflex format, you might want Drake May, right? Now, the question is, do you take Drake May or do you take the guy that can win next? And that's Marvin Harrison Jr. So at the 103, I have Marvin Harrison Jr. And I think that's a big question here. Like, do you take Marvin? Do you take Drake? How does that look at? And who do you have more faith in? So leave it in the comments. What do you guys think? Like, are you going to take a wide receiver here and feel like that top 10 draft capital is guaranteed, or you take Drake because you feel like, hey, some people are talking about Drake being quarterback 1 of the class, right, over Caleb. So I think that's the one area that you have to think about right now as a dynasty manager and a Devy manager. Like, should we be taking account like quarterback, wide receiver, who holds the capital better, right? And Marvin Harrison Jr. has a fairly safe capital, right? JSN was the wide receiver 1 off the board this year, and he didn't play last year, and he still went he went 20, right? So we're thinking of Seahawks and where they go. I think that's where you're looking at with Harrison. Now, 104 is Emeka Egbuka. Now, this guy has been going all across the board here. Emeka's going at 104, so we have 2 wide receivers, 2 quarterbacks off the board. That's something to note when we're thinking of this 24 class. There's still a lot of question marks about that running back position, like we've seen over and over again with the running back position going from there. But Emeka has done well last year. He statistically, analytically, he looks very, very good, solid profile. Now, at the 105 is probably the big shocker. Malik Nabers sneaks into the 105. This is the highest I've seen him go, but I love it because I think Malik could break out. If you saw Jaden Daniels last year with Malik, he overthrew Nabers a ton. Now, he has Jaden Daniels again, but if Malik can stay out of trouble off the field, and he had a little bit of run-ins this last offseason, if he can kind of get his head out and get on the field and show that, that elite upside there, Nabers could be a pick here that is interesting going at 105, but we might be talking about consensus pretty soon, right? So Nabers, definitely, this is the highest I've seen him go, but he's always been in the first round. And the last one of these he went 112, so he's still in there. Now, 106, Raheem Sanders. So running back 1 of the 24 class, according to this mock, is Raheem Sanders from Arkansas. I like this pick in terms of value at the 106. I don't have Raheem as my running back 1, but he's in the same tier with TreVeyon Henderson. There's going to be a battle all off season. End season, and I don't think it really matters that much. I think draft capital is going to tell you what we need to know about these guys. I think Sanders, from a perspective of like just a solid producer last year, and if he does it again, you're looking at numbers like that. We've actually had on our Patreon, we do Patreon only podcasts for, our patrons. And we talked about Raheem versus TreVeyon. So if you want a more detailed breakdown, you go join our Patreon, you'll see it there. But overall, he's the running back 1 in this mock. Then we got Brock Bowers and tight end premium going at the 107. I will say this, the Cover 3 podcast is one I listen to a lot, and they really question Bowers' ability to play tight end at 230 pounds in the NFL. And based on what we've seen with the NFL and the NFL draft, they want bigger guys, right? So I think the one area of concern I have for Bowers is like his size. Is 230 pounds, is that big enough? Or is he going to have to add like 240, 245, right? Until we feel comfortable with that. And how is that going to affect his draft capital? I think that's the question mark with Bowers. I think as a prospect, he's done everything he needed to do. But the question for me is that size. Now, at the 108, we have TreVeyon Henderson, who's seen a sharp decline. He was usually going in the top 3 of these things. And then he got injured last year. And the foot injury definitely knocked him off base. You see his freshman year, 1,200 yards, 15 touchdowns. Christian Williams did another breakdown of TreVeyon, and I thought it was a great one, kind of covering what you can expect from him moving forward, how that looks. And I think it was a great video. Go check that out. Again, at 108, it's value. I'm going to take him there. There are some people in Debbie that absolutely don't like Henderson. And I think it's the cool thing. So there's like a cool kids club of like hating on a prospect. I think Henderson's that guy. So what we're seeing is narratives change about Henderson and they're dropping him down, which is good for people that follow us or understand that, hey, Henderson's a top level talent when he's healthy. Now, at the 109, what do we got here? We have Donovan Edwards, Michigan. Again, this is a tier. So once you hit the 109 right now, what we're seeing is a tier here. Edwards is a great back. I like Edwards. I think from a receiving standpoint, he's one of the best backs in college football. Now, what is he going to be as a runner? I think he's got to take that next development, right? So when you're looking at this overall, we're seeing kind of that next, all right, who's that next guy up in that offense? With Corum coming back, if he's healthy, ready to go, they're going to eat in each other's usage a little bit. I think Edwards from a receiving standpoint is good. 204, let's hope he stays there. I would assume he's probably 5'11", 200, and maybe he'll get up there. That's kind of my guess. Now, 110, we have Xavier Worthy. Again, injured last year. If he could catch, he's gonna be a first-round pick if he could show that he has that. I know the size is a concern there, but if he steps up with Quinn Ewers in that Texas offense this year, we could see value jump up there. The 111, we have Braylon Allen. So, again, I think Wisconsin's rushing attack, that spread out system now that they have, even though Tanner Mordecai did not look good in the spring game, they don't see 8-9 man boxes anymore. Braylon Allen might have one of the best years that he's had. And he's had 2 very productive years. And Braylon Allen is one of those kids that, like, we might be thinking about, like, why do we overthink this in rookie drafts? Why do we go, he should have been top 6 pick, right? Braylon Allen's one of those kids who's going to absolutely crush this season as long as he stays healthy. And in the wrap out the top 12 there, Quinn Ewers snuck in at 112. And this is pretty early for him. I've said this a million times. I was out on Quinn Ewers last year. Some people were drafting him in 101, overall. That was a mistake. Like, even over guys like Bryce and CJ and those guys, which was an absolute mistake. That should not have been happening, but I saw it in multiple analyst drafts, and that should not be doing it. Now at 112, I'm probably still out on this based on who's still on the board, but I'll be honest, there's some other guys that were going like in Ewers' range, like Superflex. If he can actually hit his ceiling, he'll be a top 5 pick, right? So when you think of that, when you think of Quinn, like, this is probably still a value for him, but if I can get him in the second round, I'm pretty excited about that. So let's talk about value. So right now, here are some players that are going for early first. Kyler Murray is probably the best buy for me in terms of where that value is at right now. As a quarterback, that's a buy, that's attack, can finish in the top 5 in fantasy. Jahmyr Gibbs, early 24 first. He's getting valued as running back 4 in Dynasty right now. You could flip Gibbs for a 24 first. Not that I say you would or you should, or if you have the early 24 first, you don't necessarily like the guys that are there, although I would say the top 3 guys are legitimate pieces, right? You might be able to flip there. And then T. Higgins is still getting valued around that 104, 105 mark, maybe 103, depending on the league and your league mates. So just to kind of give you an idea there. And then Drake London too. So I didn't put him on here, but Drake London is also kind of getting valued in this weird kind of early to mid first. So I do want to kind of mention him as well. Now, when talking about mid first, Daniel Jones, Travis Etienne, Cooper Kupp, those guys are guys that are kind of going around there. So think about where you just saw the guys that are in that range. These are kind of where they're getting value. Daniel Jones and Superflex as well. Travis Etienne, now that Tank is there, we've seen him stock drop a little bit. Should it, right? Cooper Kupp, the 107 is essentially where I see his value. What side you're on is up to you. But if you want to go get him for the 107, you think he could be that wide receiver 1, you go do it on a contender. That's where his value has kind of been. Now, late, you got Trey Lance, J.K. Dobbins, Marquise Brown. If you can squeeze the first out of Marquise Brown, you might want to do it, right? J.K. Dobbins is an interesting one. You think in Monken's offense, it's going to kind of explode there. And then we have Trey Lance. That you're really on one or two ways with Trey. You're either going to go give him for a late first or early second, and you're excited about it, right? Or you're trying to just get out of Lance because you're done. right? So there's 2 question marks that you have there, but those are kind of where the values that you're going to see. Now, when we talk about the second round, so again, I'm just going to kind of not do what we did before. We're just going to go over like a big overview. Troy Franklin, Will Shipley has seen his stock drop a lot. Trey Benson has seen his stock probably shoot up the most. Marshawn Lloyd was an interesting pick here. Now, remember, this is only 2024 class area. So we're not talking about like anybody else. That's why you're going to see some of these names in here. Devin Neal from Kansas, the 205. Bucky Irving, 206. Keon Coleman, he's in the portal right now as we've recorded this video. So if you're watching a little later, 6'4", 215. If he finds himself somewhere like USC, some of these other areas, maybe he's talking about Auburn, but that would not be the best spot for him. If he could find himself somewhere where you're like excited about his play and where he's going to get to, he could probably shoot up boards here. J. Michael Sturdivant, UCLA. Kyle McCord, Ohio State, might be the guy that shoots up because we've seen Ohio State quarterbacks. If he performs, they go to the playoff again, and he's in the Heisman race, he's going to be a first-round pick. Jordan Travis, Florida State, they have a national championship aspirations. Mario Williams, and then J.J. McCarthy to round out the second round. Now, in terms of values right now, 2024 seconds are kind of across the board. I'm not going to go early, mid, or late on these. Just kind of give you an idea of like Desmond Ridder and Superflex. If you want to get out of Desmond Ridder because you think, hey, he's just going to be a starter this year, he's a stopgap, right? We've seen plenty of these in Superflex leagues. You don't really know where that value's at. Right now, he's getting valued as maybe an early second, maybe a area there. But again, someone probably trying to get Ridder probably needs a quarterback. So that's just something to think about, like maybe a contender and maybe it's a late second. Do you want to risk that? Maybe he comes out and just balls out that first 4 weeks of the season, you get more value. Alvin Kamara is early second. So is Tyler Lockett, especially with JSN there, late second. Maybe a contender would want to try to take a shot on Lockett. They have a late second and they think that he's going to do well this year. This is the kind of that second area. Now, when we get into the third round, Dante Thornton is a guy to keep your eye on. So out there, everybody, that's kind of one of my guys at Tennessee. He fits that role really well at Tennessee and Tennessee's offense. Jatavian Sanders there for Texas. Alden McCaskill, he's in the portal right now. I think he's rumored, crystal balled, maybe to go to Colorado, but it hasn't been confirmed yet. Rome Odunze, Washington. Rome got some truthers out there. So I see some people fighting people about Rome. So Rome's going to 304, but some people said he was better than Marvin Harrison Jr. on Twitter, which I thought was insane. But hey, we love the Twitter sphere. Dominic Lovett going to Georgia, when you're thinking from Missouri transfer. Arondé Gatson the second is the interesting one. So he's listed at tight end. He's not going to be a tight end in the NFL at that size. So the thing is with Arondé, I think that he's a value going in that third round. I like that. Blake Corum is a do not draft for me. Jace McClellan, he's interesting. Alabama, Ray GQ was talking about it earlier when he was tweeting with me, and he's like, hey, man, that room is a mess. And I'm like, yeah, it is a mess. So we're talking about Alabama. Jace might be that guy that steps up. So, that's one of those areas that you have to think about with Jace. He could really sneak into that second round right now, and his value is at 308 in this kind of a draft. JoJo Earl, Roman Himby, and then Jarquez Hunter and Jalen McMillian kind of round out the last third round here. Overall, like when you're looking at this and the thirds, Ryan Tannehill's going for that. Will Levis getting drafted there. Donta Foreman, Mike Gesicki. So if you really want to maybe get in some thirds and kind of get areas, if you're a really, really bad team, like you're really rebuilding, the thirds might not have a bad value right now, just to kind of give you an idea of what that looks like. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I enjoy doing these rookie mock drafts, especially 2024, but I more enjoy just seeing what the value and how it fluctuates. But if you're in Devy, these things are invaluable. You can go and look and see what value's at. You see Malik Neighbors at 105. Maybe you can move off Malik a little bit and go through there. I've done a tiers video for you guys to go look and see where player values are. I'm going to be doing an updated one here this summer as we kind of get more information as it comes through. And I'd be remiss not to tell you, go join our Patreon. $3 a month. You can get a 10-month for a year kind of deal right now. It's probably the best value in the space in terms of like what we put out for you guys. So go check that out. All right. Appreciate you guys. I'll check you guys next time.